A very warm welcome to the closing event of the Active Citizens National Fund. On behalf of the organizer consortium of the Stefan Batory Foundation, the Stocznia or Shipyard Foundation, and FAO, the Academy of Civic Organizations Foundation, Marek Cywiński from Stocznia, and Ola Sokołowska from Stefan Batory Foundation. We are very happy to be able to meet with you at Kino Muranów at the closing event of Active Citizens, the National Fund. This event will coincide with the Little Big Things movie, and we'd like to greet those who are watching us online. The program was implemented thanks to Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. We would like to welcome representatives of the donor countries. We'd like to welcome the ambassador Øystein of the Kingdom of Norway and representatives of the Kingdom of Norway. Representatives of the Embassy of Iceland. Representatives of the Financial Mechanisms, Financial Measures Office in Brussels. Deputy Minister of Justice Zuzanna Rudzińska-Bluszcz. Representatives of grant recipients, experts of the program, all the other guests, and representatives of the Active Citizens National Fund Consortium. Now we would like to invite to the stage the ambassador of the Kingdom of Norway, Øystein. Please come to the stage.
Do I need a microphone or do you hear me? It's over there. I'm getting old. Dobry wieczór, panie ministrze, państwu, drodzy przyjaciele. It is indeed a pleasure to be here at this closing event of one of the two highly important NGO programs in Poland. Both programs clearly display Norway's commitment towards strengthening the critical role of NGOs in contributing to a fairer and more just society.
Oba programy zdecydowanie świadczą o zaangażowaniu Norwegii we wzmacnianiu krytycznej roli organizacji pozarządowych, jeżeli chodzi o rozwój bardziej sprawiedliwego społeczeństwa.
And of course, this commitment is highly pertinent seen against the backdrop of the social and economic outlook in Europe.
Myślę, że wszyscy Państwo zgodzą się ze mną, gdy powiem, że to zobowiązanie jest szczególnie istotne, biorąc pod uwagę prognozy społeczno-ekonomiczne dla całej Europy.
NGOs are essential pillars of our society.
Organizacje pozarządowe są istotnymi filarami naszych społeczeństw.
You are channels of participation and influence, and you make important contributions to developing society through your inputs on good governance, politics, respect for human rights, culture, and many, many more.
Organizacje pozarządowe, wszyscy Państwo, jesteście mechanizmami i swoistymi kanałami przekazywania informacji, jeżeli chodzi o partycypację, wywieranie wpływu, już nie mówiąc o tym, że przyczyniają się Państwo do rozwoju społeczeństwa obywatelskiego dzięki wkładowi w postaci informacji na temat dobrego zarządzania, polityki, szacunku dla praw człowieka, kultury i wielu innych obszarów.
This is why support to civil society is a key priority of the EEA and Norway grants. This is why NGO programs have been established in all 15 beneficiary countries.
Dlatego też wsparcie dla społeczeństwa obywatelskiego stało się priorytetem dla grantów z Europejskiego Obszaru Gospodarczego i Mechanizmu Norweskiego. Dlatego też programy skierowane do organizacji pozarządowych zostały uruchomione w całej 15 państw beneficjentów.
It's difficult to find words that would do justice to your work. And hence, I would just like to use this opportunity to express Norway's deep appreciation and also respect for the extraordinary efforts of the Polish civil society throughout the whole EEA Norway grants contribution, and not least during the last 7 years under the implementation of the EEA Norway grants Active Citizens Fund National.
Trudno byłoby znaleźć właściwe słowa, aby w pełni oddać Państwa osiągnięcia, w związku z czym chciałem skorzystać z tej okazji i wyrazić głęboką wdzięczność w imieniu Królestwa Norwegii, jak również szacunek dla niebywałych wysiłków czynionych przez polskie społeczeństwo obywatelskie w ramach całego programu funduszy, grantów z Europejskiego Obszaru Gospodarczego i Mechanizmu Norweskiego, głównie jeżeli chodzi o ostatnich 7 lat podczas wdrażania programu Aktywni Obywatele.
You have a demanding and complex role. You are a bridge between the citizens and the state. You hold officials accountable and responsive to public needs, and while also playing an indispensable role in speaking up for the most vulnerable.
Przed Wami była i nadal stoi rola bardzo wymagająca i bardzo złożona. Stanowicie jako świat organizacji pozarządowych swoisty pomost pomiędzy obywatelami a państwem. Jesteście między innymi po to, aby wskazywać urzędnikom państwowym drogę ku odpowiedzialności za piastowane stanowiska, jednocześnie aby reagowali na potrzeby społeczne, a jednocześnie zawsze odgrywacie niebywałą rolę, jeżeli chodzi o przemawianie w imieniu najbardziej wrażliwych społeczności.
You have stood tall in difficult times, safeguarding democratic values, human rights, and also fostering social cohesion.
W niebywale ciężkich czasach robiliście swoje, wykazując się niezwykłym kręgosłupem moralnym, stojąc na straży wartości demokratycznych, praw człowieka i spójności społecznej.
It should be obvious, therefore, that supporting NGOs and an active civil society is investing in independent and robust societies. We strongly believe in the importance of this.
Powinno być w związku z tym jasne, nie ulega to kwestii, że wspieranie organizacji pozarządowych oraz aktywnego społeczeństwa obywatelskiego jest inwestycją w niezależne i odporne społeczeństwo obywatelskie. Jesteśmy głęboko przekonani, że jest to prawda, której powinniśmy się trzymać.
And this is why Norway has become one of the biggest, if not the biggest, funders of NGOs in Europe.
Między innymi dlatego Norwegia należy do największych, o ile nie jest w tej chwili największym darczyńcą i fundatorem programów realizowanych przez organizacje pozarządowe w całej Europie.
The EEA Norway grants are an expression of Iceland, Liechtenstein, and also Norway's shared solidarity and responsibility for the future of Europe. And since 2024, Norway has supported somewhat 6,000 projects all over Poland.
Program funduszy, o których mowa, jest wyrazem wspólnej islandzkiej i norweskiej odpowiedzialności za solidarność i za odpowiedzialność za przyszłość Europy. Od roku 2004 Norwegia wsparła około 6 000 projektów w ramach funduszu, w ramach mechanizmu.
The purpose of the NGO program is not only direct support to NGO activities, but also to strengthen the role of the NGOs overall. Small or large organizations, national or local initiatives, you are all part of a highly vibrant NGO community.
Celem programu wspierania organizacji pozarządowych jest nie tylko wspieranie samych NGO-sów, natomiast również wspieranie roli, jaką pełnią w społeczeństwie. Niezależnie od tego, czy mamy do czynienia z organizacją małą czy dużą, czy jest to organizacja, która działa na poziomie krajowym czy lokalnym, wszystkie te organizacje są częścią bardzo żywotnej i bardzo sprawnie działającej społeczności NGO-sów.
Hence, our support is not only about funding, but also about enabling you to shape the narrative and to strengthen your impact. You must be seen all as an essential part of society in every country.
Dlatego też nasze wsparcie polega nie tylko na bezpośrednim finansowaniu różnorodnych przedsięwzięć. Chodzi nam o to, aby umożliwiać wam kształtowanie narracji i wspieranie wpływu, jakie wywieracie na społeczeństwo. Myślę, że wszyscy powinniście być postrzegani jako istotna część społeczeństwa.
You have no doubt proven your influence over the last years. You've had so many challenges thrown your way, such as attack on democratic values, the effects of the pandemic, influx of refugees, just to mention a few.
Nie ulega kwestii, że w ciągu ubiegłych lat dowiedliście, jak istotny jest wpływ waszych działań. Niezależnie od wyzwań, z jakimi się zmierzyliście, myślę tutaj o bezpośrednich atakach na wartości demokratyczne, myślę o skutkach pandemii, o napływie uchodźców. To tylko kilka czynników, z którymi musieliście się zmierzyć.
The Active Citizens Fund was carried out during an ongoing war in Europe. Your neighbor was brutally attacked by Russia. This had an impact on the entire Polish society.
Program Aktywni Obywatele był realizowany w czasie wojny trwającej u progu waszego państwa. Wasz bezpośredni sąsiad został zaatakowany przez Rosję, co oczywiście wywarło wpływ na całe polskie społeczeństwo.
We have all been impressed far beyond the borders of Poland and touched by the Polish society's heartwarming and unprecedented response to the situation.
Wszyscy, niezależnie od tego, czy byliśmy blisko, czy daleko od Polski, byliśmy pod ogromnym wrażeniem przyjęcia, z jakimi spotkali się uchodźcy ukraińscy w Polsce. Byliśmy pod niezwykłym wrażeniem reakcji Polski na zastaną sytuację.
And I believe all of you here today have been affected and engaged.
Myślę, że wszyscy, jak tutaj dzisiaj jesteśmy, pozostaliśmy pod wpływem tego, co się wydarzyło.
We're honored that you have made the best of the EA Norway grants to redirect your efforts to the refugee response. The grants were established to support big European project of the big European project of cohesion and solidarity, and this project has not failed thanks to your actions.
Jesteśmy zaszczyceni, że postanowiliście wykorzystać częściowo fundusze i granty, o których mowa, aby przekierować część wysiłków na przyjmowanie uchodźców. Same granty były stworzone z myślą o tym, aby wspierać wielki europejski projekt solidarności i spójności. Projekt ten powiódł się dzięki waszym wysiłkom.
It's our hope that your efforts will continue making the grants serve their purpose to promote and defend our common European values.
Wszyscy mamy nadzieję, że wysiłki czynione przez was, przez państwa, nadal będą sprawiały, że granty będą realizowane zgodnie z przeznaczeniem, aby promować i chronić wspólne wartości europejskie.
In closing, I would like to thank the dedicated staff of the three operators of the program, the Stefan Batory Foundation, the Shipyard Foundation and the Academy of Civic Organizations Foundation, implementing the Active Citizens National Fund.
Kończąc, chciałbym złożyć serdecznie podziękowania na ręce pracowników trzech operatorów samego programu. Fundacji imienia Stefana Batorego, Fundacji Stocznia oraz Akademii Fundacji Organizacji Obywatelskich, które zajmowały się wspólnie wdrażaniem krajowego programu Aktywni Obywatele.
You all really understand the needs of the NGO sector and you have been vital in building its capacity. Without your determination and hard work over the past years, it would not have been possible to get where we are today.
Dowiedliście tego, że faktycznie rozumiecie potrzeby sektora organizacji pozarządowych i odegraliście bardzo istotną rolę w budowaniu ich możliwości operacyjnych. Bez waszej determinacji, bez waszej ciężkiej pracy w ciągu ubiegłych kilku lat nie dotarlibyśmy do punktu, w którym znajdujemy się dzisiaj.
I would normally not mention anyone in particular, as that is not always fair, but tonight I will make an exception for Eva Kulik.
Zazwyczaj nikogo nie wymieniam z nazwiska, uważam, że nie jest to fair, ale dzisiaj pozwolę sobie wywołać z imienia i nazwiska panią Ewę Kulik.
We have all so much appreciated working closely with you all these years. Thank you so much. And Ingrid Schulderud has asked me to pass on her warmest regards to you.
Bardzo dziękujemy za współpracę. Proszę mnie, żebym przekazał pani słowa najwyższego uznania. Dziękuję pięknie.
But then we have to remember, this is not just an end or a closure. It's also a new beginning.
Natomiast chcę wszystkim przypomnieć, że nie jest to jedynie koniec określonego programu. Oto mamy do czynienia z nowym początkiem.
Our steadfast support to the European civil society will continue in the next edition of the EEA Norway grants, where almost €1 billion is set aside for Poland.
Nasze wsparcie dla Europejskiego Społeczeństwa Obywatelskiego będzie kontynuowane w ramach kolejnej edycji programów z mechanizmu Europejskiego Obszaru Gospodarczego i mechanizmu norweskiego, w ramach którego €1 miliard przeznaczono dla Polski.
At present, there is an ongoing public consultation of the draft Blue Book, which outlines the priorities and programs areas for the new funding period.
W tej chwili trwają, jak państwo zapewne wiedzą, konsultacje społeczne, jeżeli chodzi o projekt tak zwanej Błękitnej Księgi, w której jest spisano priorytety i potrzeby programowe na kolejny okres finansowania.
These consultations are open until this Friday, 18 October, the day after tomorrow, and you are welcome to submit your inputs and help us refine priorities and program areas.
Konsultacje będą trwały jeszcze 2 dni, do 18 października i czekamy na państwa wkład, na państwa komentarze, które mam nadzieję pozwolą nam odpowiednio przyjąć priorytety i założenia programowe.
You will hear from Alexandra about the next edition and the way forward a bit later today, so I leave it at this for now and wish you all the best for this important conference. I really look forward to continue working with you all. Dziękuję za uwagę.
Wiem, że Aleksandra przedstawi państwu założenia programowe na przyszłość, w związku z czym nie będę mówił teraz o szczegółach. Natomiast życzę państwu cudownego spotkania, owocnej konferencji i cieszę się na współpracę. Bardzo dziękuję.
Dziękujemy bardzo.
Thank you very much. And now we'd like to invite to the stage Jan Hernik, representative of the Embassy of Iceland.
Good evening, everyone. You hear me well? All right.
Dobry wieczór, mam nadzieję, że mnie słychać.
So, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues.
Szanowni Państwo, drodzy przyjaciele i koledzy.
It is a great honor for me to be here tonight and say a few words on behalf of His Excellency Ambassador Fredrik Jonsson.
Bardzo się cieszę, dla mnie ogromny zaszczyt, że znalazłem się wśród Państwa dzisiejszego wieczoru i że będę w stanie, że będę mógł w imieniu Jego Ekscelencji ambasadora Fredrika Jonssona powiedzieć parę słów.
The Active Citizen Fund program is a key element of our activities within the EEA grants in Poland.
Program Aktywni Obywatele jest kluczowym elementem naszej działalności w ramach funduszy z Europejskiego Obszaru Gospodarczego w Polsce.
Iceland treats its guiding principles, such as respect for human rights, dignity, equality, and the rule of law, as fundamental pillars of a democratic society.
Islandia uważa wartości przewodnie zawarte w programie: poszanowanie praw człowieka, godność, równość, zasady państwa prawa za zasadnicze filary społeczeństwa demokratycznego.
We are proud to be part of this important undertaking here in Poland as well.
Jesteśmy dumni, że również w Polsce możemy być częścią tego istotnego przedsięwzięcia.
Since the beginning of the Icelandic embassy here in Warsaw, our mission has been actively cooperating with non-governmental organizations that are operators of the Active Citizens Fund.
Od pierwszego dnia funkcjonowania ambasady Islandii w Warszawie, w Polsce, nasza placówka aktywnie współpracowała z organizacjami pozarządowymi, które są operatorami programu Aktywni Obywatele.
As part of this program, 589 social organizations, leaders and partners implemented as many as 501 projects and grants.
W ramach tego programu 589 organizacji społecznych, naszych liderów i partnerów, zrealizowało aż 500 projektów i dotacji.
During the program, 430 social campaigns were carried out, reaching an impressive 60 million recipients. Over 30,000 people benefited from various support, including psychological and legal assistance.
Program objął 430 kampanii społecznych, które dotarły do imponującej liczby 60 milionów odbiorców. Ponad 40 000 osób skorzystało z różnych form wsparcia, w tym pomocy psychologicznej i prawnej.
I would like to express my great appreciation to the Battery Foundation, the Shipyard Foundation, and the Academy of Civic Organizations Foundation. At the same time, I would like to thank each and every one of you individually. It is your commitment that made it possible for us to achieve these impressive results.
Chciałbym wyrazić ogromne uznanie dla Fundacji imienia Stefana Batorego, Fundacji Stocznia i Fundacji Akademii Organizacji Obywatelskich. Jednocześnie chciałbym wszystkim Państwu podziękować, każdemu z osobna, ponieważ to dzięki Waszemu zaangażowaniu udało nam się osiągnąć te niebywałe rezultaty.
It is also worth emphasizing that bilateral cooperation within the program was extremely fruitful.
Warto także podkreślić ogromnie owocną współpracę dwustronną w ramach programu.
This success is also due to the organizations from Poland and Iceland, which jointly implemented projects.
Sukces ten zawdzięczamy również organizacjom polskim i islandzkim, które wspólnie realizowały poszczególne projekty.
And of course, these achievements would not have been possible without the support of our friends and allies from Norway and Liechtenstein.
Trzeba również podkreślić, że osiągnięcia te nie byłyby możliwe bez wsparcia naszych kolegów z Norwegii i Liechtensteinu.
We are grateful for the cooperation during the funding period, and we look forward for many more years of joint activities for the development and strengthening of civil society.
Jesteśmy wdzięczni za dotychczasową współpracę w ramach właśnie kończącego się mechanizmu i już oczekujemy kolejnych lat wspólnych działań na rzecz rozwoju i wzmacniania społeczeństwa obywatelskiego.
On behalf of His Excellency Fredrik Jonsson, I would like to sincerely thank everyone involved in the Active Citizens Fund, the national program, and I wish you continued success in your activities. Thank you so much.
W imieniu Jego Ekscelencji, pana ambasadora Fredrika Jonssona, pragnę serdecznie podziękować wszystkim zaangażowanym w realizację programu Aktywni Obywatele Fundusz Krajowy i życzę kolejnych sukcesów. Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękujemy bardzo.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to invite to the stage Dr. Sverrisson from the Financial Mechanisms Office in Brussels.
It's really great to be here tonight. Like the ambassador said, it's not an end. It is an in-between chapter between two periods. I was preparing the speaking notes for this evening, and my colleague said, let's talk about the achievements. And we...
Dobry wieczór, dzień dobry. Bardzo się cieszę, że znalazłem się wśród Państwa dzisiejszego wieczoru. Jak już powiedział pan ambasador, nie jest to tak naprawdę koniec. Jesteśmy między końcem a początkiem, jesteśmy w takim okresie przejściowym pomiędzy jednym mechanizmem a drugim. Kiedy przygotowywałem założenia swojego wystąpienia na dzisiejszy wieczór, poproszono mnie, abym skoncentrował się na tematach kluczowych. Do rzeczy.
And then we started to outline them, and there were so many it would take me until midnight to outline them, so I will not.
Natomiast okazało się podczas pracy nad owymi tematami kluczowymi, gdy zaczęliśmy je omawiać, że myślę, że siedzielibyśmy tutaj do północy, zanim bym skończył, więc się od tego powstrzymam.
But there are a few things I would still like to mention, and that haven't been mentioned before. I would say the organizational grants is a pilot that we did with you and with several other fund operators, and that has been a real success.
Myślę, że należy podkreślić, że organizacja grantów, że same granty były rzeczą najistotniejszą dla nas, ze względu na to, że połączyły one, między innymi ze względu na to, że połączyły one w ramach programu pilotażowego, co bardzo istotne, kilka organizacji, które jednocześnie były operatorem programu.
And we are going to include them in all programs in the next funding period.
Z całą pewnością będziemy włączać te organizacje, będziemy zapraszać te organizacje do współpracy dla potrzeb kolejnego mechanizmu finansowego, dla potrzeb kolejnych grantów.
And another achievement is the regional initiatives, the regional civil society initiatives, the Community for Action.
Myślę, że wspomnieć także należy o inicjatywie o charakterze regionalnym, Community for Action, społeczność na rzecz działań.
And this is where you have played a vital role, and this has basically created a family of civil society actors across Europe, and you have a voice as the family, and your voice is heard and will be heard.
Dzięki tej społeczności stworzyliście jako organizację swoistą rodzinę. Rodzinę, która jest ogromnie istotna, rodzinę, której głos jest słyszalny w całej Europie, rodzinę, która odegrała ogromną rolę w realizowanych programach i rodzinę, która stała się rzeczywistością.
And I would also like to mention the media projects that you have run here in Poland. And they are very impressive and important. And this is about freedom of the media, this is about independent journalism, and this is about media literacy.
Chciałbym również wspomnieć o programach i działaniach związanych z mediami. To jest temat ogromnie istotny, zwłaszcza w świetle ubiegłych kilku lat, ze względu na to, że stawialiście na rzetelność w mediach, stawialiście na umiejętność korzystania z mediów i stawialiście na niezależność dziennikarską.
And media literacy, information integrity is one of the defenders of democracy.
Trzeba pamiętać o tym, że zarówno rzetelne wykorzystanie mediów i umiejętność korzystania z nich, jak i rzetelność informacyjna są filarami demokracji.
There are many others I could mention, but like I say, you don't want to listen to me until midnight.
Mógłbym oczywiście mówić dalej, ale jak wspomniałem na początku, nie chcielibyście mnie słuchać aż do północy.
But this has not been easy, as you know. We have had COVID, we had war, we had difficult political situation in Poland in the early years of this fund.
Jak Państwo wiedzą, jak wiecie, ten mechanizm, realizacja tego mechanizmu finansowego zbiegła się z bardzo trudnym okresem. Dotknął nas COVID, dotknęła nas wojna. Państwa Polaków dotknęła trudna sytuacja polityczna.
And when I think back about all these challenges we have had, it's just the resilience of all of you has been absolutely astonishing.
Myśląc o tych wszystkich przeszkodach, o tych kłodach, które były wam rzucane pod nogi, pozostaje mi jedynie wyrazić ogromne uznanie dla odporności i uporu, z jakim prowadziliście swoją działalność.
So thank you so much for being a very, not just reliable, but inspiring partner in running this fund in Poland.
W związku z czym serdecznie wam dziękuję. Nie tylko za rzetelność w realizacji poszczególnych projektów, ale również za to, że staliście się dla nas wszystkich źródłem inspiracji.
And we are setting up a new fund now, and it's roughly 300 million euros. When will it be launched? Hopefully very soon.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the number, please?
300 million. 300 Yeah, I know it's hard to believe. 300 million euros.
Tworzymy w tej chwili nowy mechanizm, który obejmuje 300 milionów euro.
And you will see some shift in what we will be focusing on, and you will see it also in the blue book that you have all been reading very thoroughly. We're going to see more focus on democracy, human rights, rule of law, these core common European values.
Zauważycie pewne zmiany w porównaniu z poprzednim mechanizmem. Zostały one już odzwierciedlone treścią niebieskiej księgi, którą zapewne już czytacie do poduszki. Będziemy przykładać większą wagę do rozwoju demokracji, praw człowieka, zasad praworządności i najistotniejszych wartości europejskich.
And information integrity is one of the areas we will be focusing on, not just in the ACF Civil Society Fund, but also in other programs. And I think that is also an important part of what the grants will be doing in the next round.
Będziemy również stawiać przede wszystkim na rzetelność informacyjną, nie tylko w ramach samego programu ACF, ale również w ramach innych grantów i myślę, że to również nie umknie waszej uwadze.
Okay, but it's not midnight, but I'm stopping here, and I just want to thank you so much. I feel really privileged to be a part of this family. Thank you very much.
Bardzo dziękuję. Wprawdzie nie ma jeszcze północy, ale tym samym kończę. Chciałbym najserdeczniej, kończąc, podziękować wam wszystkim za udział w programie. Chcę również podkreślić, że czuję się zaszczycony, będąc częścią tej rodziny, o której wspominałem. Dziękuję z serca.
Dziękuję.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to invite to the stage a representative of the Active Citizens National Fund Consortium, Ewa Kulik-Bielińska from the Stefan Batory Foundation, Lidia Kuczmierowska from Academy of Civil Organizations, and Kuba Wygnański from the Shipyard Foundation to tell us in a few words what was most important for them in the program. Well, we've already heard all that I wanted to say, but on a personal note, it's a moment for that. When I was driving here, I was looking back at the last 6 years, because for us, the Active Citizens program started in January 2019, when we organized consultations on the program. After the Blue Book consultations of the program that was to be implemented in Poland. And I remember that when we came to this meeting, we couldn't start with something that was very important. 3 days ago, before, Mayor Paweł Adamowicz of Gdańsk had been murdered. And it was a sign of the times, because the 6 years was marked by crises. It was marked by a time that was difficult for the Polish public and Polish NGOs. And there was a crisis after crisis, starting with the rule of law crisis, through the attack on women's rights, through the pandemic, the humanitarian crisis on the Polish-Belarusian border, the war in Ukraine, and the wave of refugees in Poland. And throughout these crises, civil society and NGOs always rose to the challenge. They were the first to defend the rule of law and democracy. They were the first to defend those who were under attack. They were the first ones to provide assistance. The civil society passed the exam over the 6 years, and the Active Citizens program accompanied them. It accompanied them, and it was a program, I would say, that was flexible. It responded to needs of both the civic society and NGOs. And I'd like to thank the donor countries, because it's thanks to their flexibility, and you not always encounter this flexibility among donors. From the very beginning, we saw this flexibility from the moment COVID struck. we gave up on something that we could not give up in EU-funded programs, our own contribution. We did not have own contributions. We did not have any reserves in Poland after COVID. NGOs were in crisis. Then the idea that Hjörtur mentioned, a great idea, the organizational grants, institutional grants, not for projects, but for the basic functioning of NGOs. For the NGOs to be able to react flexibly to crises, challenges, and problems that they were coming across. Because the reality we live in is very much unplanned. We have been planning the program in 2018. We've been implementing it in 2019, 2024. This program became a model program also for EU funds, and this is the biggest success. It shows that it worked. The new program that was implemented by the EU, the Citizens' Equality, Rights and Values, benefits from the experience of the Active Citizens program and the way that donor countries approached the funds in a flexible, open way, open to new ideas, a way that allows all of us to achieve impact. We thought that it would be very difficult to exert any impact for us. We thought that we would not be able to deliver because circumstances were changing so quickly. But in spite of the changing circumstances, the civic society rose to the challenge, and the results, the impact of the program that we're going to talk about are truly impressive. And I'd like to thank all those in the room for that, because all of you implementing these programs, working on a daily basis with your colleagues and the people you served, you are the heroes of the Active Citizens program. Thank you very much. To respond to a question why the Active Citizens program was important, is difficult not to agree with the previous speaker, and it doesn't happen too often. But all that was said, I think, had a decisive influence on the outstanding importance of the program. I think that the Active Citizens program was also important due to the fact that it offered many opportunities for non-financial support to civil groups and organizations. And as a result, it exerted a long-lasting impact, a bigger one than just funds. We were asked to share our own thoughts. I can tell you that one example was something that we did at the Academy of Civic Organizations Foundation, a mobile NGO where we trained representatives of local NGOs, 55 workshops in 14 regions, 22 locations. We organized them in cooperation with local partners, without whom all this wouldn't have worked. It turned out that another key success factor is for the trainer to be a good driver, have a car, and be able to cope with very unpredictable situations. As part of the program, we drove several dozen thousand kilometers. We ended up in places where the car navigation and Google Maps refused to cooperate. Was it worth it? It was. Definitely, because working with all the people we met during trainings gave us many priceless experiences, and I think that through actions like Mango and dozens of projects that you have implemented, representatives of project promoters, beneficiaries in the room, you enabled the program to have an impact in local communities. It was important because many democratic communities forgot the citizens that operate far away from Warsaw. The Active Citizens program did it. It engaged citizens and NGOs that work far away in the periphery of the geographic borders of Poland, and this was yet another reason why this program was important. I'm not great at 120-second speeches. I was instructed not to talk about the things that we already heard. I do not have many options. Well, colleagues, sisters, I would say that something that is personal for me. We're going to thank many people, but what matters to me is that the donors, but specific persons, have shown decisiveness, integrity, and rigidity when it mattered. And they were also trusting and flexible when it was possible. And this combination was very important. I'm not going to talk for long. I'm very happy because I looked at various statistics. The applications for the program came from 90% of the powiats, counties in Poland. This was a program that everyone knew about. That's clear. It was not exclusive in any way. It gave resources to many NGOs, and I would like to emphasize in the difficult times it protected the critical infrastructure of the Polish civic society. I know a lot about it, and you cannot not appreciate you being in the right place and the right time. You have shielded what is very precious, and we should not waste it. We should be relying on one another. Many things are not ending. Fighting for democracy is not ending. If you don't work for democracy, it can be toppled. And it's not just about money, it's about many other decisions. It was a very good program from this point of view. Thank you very much.
Dziękujemy bardzo.
Thank you very much to the representatives of the consortium for taking the floor. And now we'd like to invite you to the next part, which will involve, well, it's going to be a quiz. We were thinking about whether we should have a quiz or a presentation about what we've been able to achieve as part of the Active Citizens National Fund, and we opted for a quiz. So we'd like to ask you to take out your smartphones. This is not something that you frequently hear in a cinema. So we're going to have a quiz, and I will explain the rules in a moment. If you are interested in taking part, please either scan the QR code or please go to menti.com and put in this 8-digit code 68791457. And I will now proceed to explaining the rules. On the menti.com, we have a quiz consisting of 10 questions. There is one choice that you can make, 3 available answers. Choose one, the correct one. You have 20 seconds to reply. And what matters is both the right answer and your reaction time. And this is how points are calculated. And I'm talking about points because the best 16 people receive prizes. I've heard that some of you are saying it doesn't work. No problem. You can try again. We still have time. We will launch the quiz shortly, but we already have 87 participants, and I'm very happy. If you are experiencing problems, please use your neighbor's assistance. It will be difficult for us to help you from the stage. And I have a message for those of you who are with us online. Of course, you are also welcome to take part. Unfortunately, the prizes are only available for those of us who are with us physically in the room, but I encourage you to take part just for satisfaction. I think that we can begin, or maybe we... All right, let's get to question number one. Question number one, very simple. In which year was the first call announced as part of the Active Citizens National Fund? Eight seconds. The correct answer, as you can see, 2020. In 2019, we signed the agreement, but the first call was announced at the beginning of 2020. And now we'll proceed to question two. You can see the ranking here. For now, congratulations to Paulina. Question number two. In total, how many experts evaluated applications in the Active Citizens National Fund program? Most of you gave the right answer. It was 158 persons. That's how many people were involved in the evaluation. This is the current ranking. Marcin K. is first, but we still have 8 questions to go. So remain vigilant. Question number 3. How many seconds since the stop from the admission of applications separated the applicant who was the latest applicant in the program? Three seconds. This is the deadline culture. Marcin K. still in the lead. And question 4. Travel. How many kilometers did our team travel as part of project monitoring visits? Very well. Many people. We have accountants in the room. The first answer is the length of the equator. So we almost circled the world twice. Question number 5. International cooperation. How many times did we visit the donor countries as part of the program? Let me add that these are visits organized as part of the project and those organized by us, the program operator. Norway 51 times, Iceland 23 times, Liechtenstein once. And now we're moving to question number 6. We're passing the middle of the 10 questions. How many people were engaged in activities under the projects in line with the declarations of grant recipients? This is what you put in the outcomes and results table in your reports. We're very happy that most of you decided that it's 430,000, and that is indeed the case. That's what we have received from you. Next question. Question number 7. How many networking and training meetings and webinars for grant recipients have taken place as part of the program?
Odpowiedź prawidłowa. 30 spotkań.
Okay, so it's 30 meetings and 78 webinars, 3 questions to go. Let's take a look at the ranking. Now, Karolina was first before, and she is still number 1. Okay, so let us now move to the next question. What was the brocade and plush educational cycle all about? Yes, very good. It was all about financial aspects of running NGOs. We decided to tackle the topic, and we hope we have been successful therein. Ronald is now in the lead. Yet 2 questions to go. Question number 9 in the and the categories geography. How many kilometers between the 2 locations furthest apart in terms of the academy? Okay, something has changed, unfortunately. Okay, there we go. So the distance, the largest distance separating the 2 sites where we held academy courses. Okay, well, this is how it goes. Yes, 826 kilometers between Drawa Wołoska and Bytów. That is the distance, greatest distance between the 2 locations in Poland. And last but not least, well, I can see that competition is fierce. Ronald is still first. Question number 10. Slightly different culinaria or cuisine. How many recipes in the cookbook put together by the program operators and foreign partners? Okay, 19, that's the correct answer. Now let us take a look at our ranking. Ronald is still in the lead, so Ronald won our little competition. We prepared 16 prizes. We have fewer winners here. Okay, sorry, we have 10 prizes. Okay, that's a slight mishap, so my apologies to the 6 people who are going to walk away empty-handed. Sylwia Sobiepan, the director of the Active Citizens Fund National Program, she will present awards and she will take the floor. Good. I would like to congratulate you on your extraordinary knowledge of the program. I have no idea whether we would be able to answer all these questions correctly. My heartiest congratulations. Okay, there we go. My assistant had decided to get ahead of himself and present the prize. Okay, this, ladies and gentlemen, is Ronald. Okay, who's next? Patricia. Do join us here on stage, please. Okay, we have Mateusz and Katarzyna and Przemek who are going to be joining us on stage. We're going to pick it up a little. Okay, Przemek, do join us on stage. Marvelous, thank you very much. And Monica. Excuse me, Patricia, not Monica. Patricia it is. Monica. Beautiful. Mateusz. Thank you very much and congratulations. Katarzyna. There she is. Congratulations. Thank you. Karolina. Karolina, Iwona, Marcin K. and Lavag. Yes, 3 more people should be joining us here on stage. Do join us here. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Don't be shy. Join us here. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, those are all our winners. Thank you for taking part. I would like to say a few words. Our representatives have already been talking about what was particularly important in the program. As a director of the program, I would like to say what was important to me. While some of my themes have been grabbed by other speakers, but I'm going to cut my speech short. Partnership was the most important thing to me. Partnership on a number of levels with different groups. Let me start with partnerships with donors. Partnership with donors was hugely important to us because they were very flexible, not to mention the fact that our needs were actually listened to, they were heard, which ultimately means that we could count on our donor states. We were after genuine and reliable partnerships wherein we can always count on the donor. Where we could count on it that they would be listening to us. And this is exactly the kind of partnership that we experienced. Last but not least, partnership in a consortium. That was truly difficult. We are 3 different organizations with different cultures. The innovative shipyard, the innovative academy, and we right in the middle there with our grant handling reliability. Nonetheless, I do hope that our partnership relations with you, with our beneficiaries, was acceptable as well. We did not want to be gendarmes. We did not want to be policing you. All we wanted to do is support you in whatever you were doing. That was the most important thing of all for us. And let me mention two other partnerships. Our sister program, the Regional Fund, was another partnership. We had joined forces with them to organize study visits, and we hope to be working with them in the future as well. That is another thing that has also been mentioned. We were working with the regional operators. We were working with foreign operators. We put together the community for action with them in order to present whatever is important to us to the outside world. This partnership is a true value to me, and this program has been based on values. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now let us move to a very important part of this meeting. We are going to be screening a documentary, The Small Little Things it is called, and it presents all programs, all grant programs delivered as part of the Active Citizens National Program. Julia Pełka and Paulina Skibińska are going to be joining us on stage. They are the directress and script writer. They, I understand, are going to give us a few words of introduction. Thank you very much for inviting us to join the program. A very sincere thanks to the Batory Foundation. We would like to also thank all the actors who took part in the movie. I must say that it was an honor for us to take part in the program, to put together this documentary. We love making documentaries because they allow us to meet such magnificent people as yourselves. We also get the opportunity of making films that are about truly important things, and thus we hope to be making a little history. Enjoy the movie. To our English speakers, you have been provided with subtitles. Enjoy the movie.
To ja zapraszam na
I'd like to invite to the stage Ania Dąbrowska from Homo Faber, Agnieszka Caban from Dom na Pograniczu Foundation, Tomek Pawłowski from 3O Foundation, and Maja Zabokrzycka from Dom Pokoju. Watching this documentary, I had a sense the representative from Brussels said that he would need a lot of time to talk about it. We had stories about 7 organizations and we had 501 projects, so we would have a marathon for weeks if we were to watch a documentary about all of them. Thank you very much for this documentary. I've seen it for the first time. It moved me. Now I'd like to have a conversation. And I invite you to take part. We will offer you the opportunity to speak. I split it into 2 parts. We're going to talk about the past first and then about the future. Let's now talk about the past. I know it's difficult to focus solely on the past because you instantly talk about the present and the future. We always had a problem when we were writing our annual report. We were already talking about what we were planning to do next year. The Active Citizens program was implemented throughout a number of crises. I'm not going to repeat the list. I think you all have your own calendar of crises. We also had local crises, different challenges. During the period, we also had a number of elections, and one set of elections that did not come to be, the so-called envelope elections by post, and that was something that did not happen. It would not guarantee honest voting, and it ended with elections in October last year. This was the election that mobilized the biggest number of voters ever. Even in the period after the transformation, after 1989, the number of people that went to vote was lower than in October last year. Huge mobilization, huge voter turnout. We had a lot of campaigns promoting participation in elections by NGOs. The question is, in light of all the challenges and crises, how did NGOs cope with this situation? Well, you can generalize, you can share your opinion or the experience of your organization. You come from different backgrounds. In your opinion, did you find a new model of adaptation for NGOs to the challenges? Has anything changed in the way NGOs operate? Did you see any new trends, directions in civic activity, new forms of activity? And if so, what kind of new activities? What was the impulse for them to come into being? Let's start with you, Ania. You're seated on the right, and then we'll go to the left, unlike you might have expected. Good evening. Thank you very much. It's not an easy job, but I know that I have very little time. I'd like to share with you 4 flashbacks that I have from the last few years. One is a moment where I find my own photograph in a report of the fortunately former deputy minister next to my friends with whom we are working against discrimination in schools, and we are pictured as people who are harmful to the morality and order of children. This is something, this was a stolen picture from Facebook. I called all the people that I know for so many years to get some support. I have this ball in my throat. The second flashback comes back to the COVID pandemic, the Lithuanian square in Lublin. I meet my colleague who's Belarusian, and she brings to the meeting a person who has just left Belarus for political reasons. A photographer, documentarist of all the anti-Lukashenko protests after the elections, this great rally of Belarusian citizens. And in pouring rain, I say to him, "Welcome to Lublin, we're happy to have you with us." My third flashback is that when the Polish-Belarusian border crisis erupts, it's August, the middle of holidays. I've just come back from my holidays, and with my colleague, we decided to go to the border because we learned about Usnash. We get into my private car. After 2 hours, we are in Usnash, and we meet all our friends from NGOs. We know them for years. They're also working for migrants and refugees in Poland. And on the same day, we create the Grupa Granica, the border group. And then the 24th of February, I remember at 10 a.m., I'm in the Lublin city office with people with whom I've been working for years in Lublin. And I have a moment where we are standing with a few people, with Tomek Sieniowy, who's in the room, and we're looking at our watches and we're thinking about how much time we have to set up a humanitarian aid system, how many hours it takes to travel from Kyiv to Lublin, provided that the border would be open enough to let people through. These are my flashbacks from the last 4 or 5 years of the Active Citizens program. And the slogan that is with me, and I wrote it today when I was writing an opinion on this event, is that we need each other. Because you never know when these friendships, relations, networks, the good words, when they will come in handy. Thank you very much. So these relations, networks, the name networks, Sylvia mentioned that partnership was very important for her. Partnership is more than cooperation. We've been cooperating, but being partners is something more. Is that a new trend? Maybe a question to my colleague to my left. In Trzeci Org, you've been looking at the functioning of NGOs and the challenges that they are facing, what they need. This difficult period in which we had limited resources to finance their activities. This period, was it marked by a high level of networking? Was there more willingness to set up formal and informal coalitions to share resources, to support one another? For pragmatic reasons, that there was less to share, and that the challenges that we're facing are challenges where rarely a single organization can deal with. Well, certainly yes, but I'm not going to say anything new. Unfortunately, this story keeps repeating. Always when you have a situation where you need to react, we can do it. We, as the general public, not just NGOs. We cope with this situation, but indeed, I was supposed to be optimistic during this meeting, but I think you can't skip those elements. What I miss is that we're not seeing this being translated into a system. At various levels, we can see that in a crisis situation, we can organize, we can react, we can respond, and that's to a very high standard in terms of mutual trust. trust of NGOs to one another, citizens to NGOs. But what I miss is that after all this, we have nothing left in terms of a fixed system that would be built with the support from the civic society, with NGOs, with local authorities and the government. We are hearing discussions, but we're still going back to square one. When something happens, we can organize and respond. But still, we don't have ready-made solutions. I mean, a broader picture here, not just NGOs. Now, concluding, it is clear to me that in crisis situations, we can trust one another. Organizations enjoy public trust, and we as NGOs can cooperate. We can structure it to be effective and efficient. Thank you very much. Maja, you were working on a difficult subject. We did not talk about it, but to go back to the beginnings of the program and talking about the death of Mayor Adamowicz, the mayor of Gdańsk, during the annual celebration organized by the Great Orchestra of Christmas Help. This was a death resulting from a hatred campaign against the mayor, and this was a result of deep polarization in the general public. This is something that you see in Poland, but also globally. You, in your NGO, are working to try and talk above those divisions. What is your take on this period, the last few years? Has anything changed? What is your take on the role of NGOs in this attempt to build bridges and talk above divisions? We can be beautifully different, but be different, not willing to kill one another.
So let's be a little bit positive, if we can at all. Yes, we can. Well, our experience has been that people are more and more tired of this politicization. And actually, it does happen that we are coming to a standstill because of the of people not being able to talk to one another. When the war broke out, people said, no, this is not time for dialogue, the war has broken out. And several months later, it turned out that we have to talk, otherwise we are always going to be on two sides of the same barricade. So we do need dialogue, we do need consensus, and I would take it a little bit further. I claim that it is not only about talking, it is about doing something about it. I have a very similar constatation, I have a very similar statement to make, that the system is full of holes, it is like a sieve. We are doing everything we can as NGOs to fill these holes, and obviously we are becoming more and more successful thanks to this collaboration. Nonetheless, what we have been taught by crisis after crisis, Russian invasion against Ukraine in the forefront, was to actually find out how many opinions we all represented. We had organizations supporting the Archdiocese of Wrocław. We had associations that were really badly perceived in Wrocław because, for example, they had been hugely nationalistic or extreme patriotic in their activities. Nonetheless, everybody showed up at the railway station to help those coming in and to send supplies to the front. It turned out that this is actually when we stood tall beyond any divisions. I can recall a time of pandemic, of the early days of COVID. Obviously, people began helping, sewing masks, for example, face masks. And I remember one other thing. I remember working with a foundation that focuses on Volyn, and on Wolin's history and of Wolin survivors. And actually those hugely patriotic and nationalistic association members came to join us to sew face masks. So be it from the left or from the right, everybody chipped in, and now they are forming think tanks. This is the format that we have decided to take on in order to build Polish-Ukrainian consensus. This is something that we absolutely need. We are witness to acts of aggression and microaggression requiring forceful response. And this is what we have been pondering, what to do. We definitely have to reach, for example, the football followers community on the one hand and ultra-left associations on the other. Agnieszka, you are working with a large ethnic minority, the largest one, yes, the Polish Roma. Over these 5 years, over the last 10 years, or maybe over the last 3 years, have you noticed any phenomena that have made you operate differently? Have you forged any non-obvious alliances? Do you have non-typical partners? Has anything changed? Or is it a certain constant? Well, when Anya began talking about the unexpected alliances, I recalled the very early days of the full-scale Russian-Ukrainian war. Anya called me and she said, you know what, we have a Roma family in Lublin. This is how it all began. I established an informal group with my friends and colleagues, Poland, Roma, Ukraine. And it was phenomenon after that. From the Romophobia, or indeed anti-gypsy movement. This is something I had encountered myself by identifying with the Roma minority, through to something totally different, where the Romophobia bias against Roma communities had been present. Nonetheless, we actually met challenges in different organizations, these challenges tying in with hidden Romophobia that is quite typical for the Polish society, and yet it turned out that it was also typical for Ukrainian refugees fleeing the war. It turned out that we actually encountered this kind of double Romophobia. Nonetheless, I was happy to see solidarity between or among NGOs with a focus on the Roma community and NGOs with a broader focus on social issues and anti-discrimination. Actually, when I look around this movie theater, I can see very many people whom I had been working with, be it as a trainer or as a project contributor. It is all about, I believe, continuous education of the community and of communities, because it is not only about our small Roma community. I think that certain things have been done away with in terms of refugees, for example, Ukrainian refugees. Nonetheless, when it came to Roma citizens or Roma nationals, we had problems. We encountered problems with people taking in Roma citizens, with Roma children being enrolled in schools, and how people approach the Roma community in general. We are actually part of the GID project, the gender-related discrimination program, and we are going to be addressing journalists with that program in order to foster information integrity. in order to prevent disinformation present across social media. We are trying to show how important and how tragic disinformation can be. This is a problem that we have and shall be facing in the future. Unfortunately, disinformation can affect those mostly marginalized, the Roma community included. All right, so a very simple question. Where have you succeeded over the last 5 years? What kind of, cool solutions can you mention? What kind of success can you mention in terms of operating in the NGO format? And had you achieved anything? What was the original source behind it? Was it all about what you carried within, or was it all about external factors? Anna, I think that what you have experienced was a phenomenon of collaborating with a local government that you tried to work for years, and things did not happen, not to mention business circles, and all of a sudden, overnight, things changed. Could you please tell us that story, and do you think it is something permanent? And that is no miracle, no abracadabra there. What did happen was hard and persistent work. And truly, after many years of collaboration, for the better or for the worse, has so far brought truly interesting outcomes. It all began in 2010. Thanks to the Stefan Batory Foundation, we had the opportunity of preparing the earliest monitoring of how foreigners function in Poland, specifically in Lublin. And we were simply monitoring circumstances of a non-EU member state national arriving to Lublin. We were trying to answer the question, what kind of challenges does this person encounter when it comes to making his or her stay in Poland, in Lublin, legal? In order to actually be fully legal, you have to take 11 to 13 steps. And that may seem daunting even to us, Polish speakers, people familiar with local government and its structures, knowing where the town hall is, knowing the specificity can be, all that can prove daunting, as said. And now take a person who is a non-Polish speaker, very often stressed and frustrated with what is going on around her or him. This is something that we found a surprise. We decided to focus on it and take a closer look at institutions responsible for making arrivals to Lublin legal. Now, what happened was that we prepared a vast report, but that was not our ultimate purpose. Our purpose was to give a shake to those manning these institutions who have to deal with these people who, don't know which room to enter, who sometimes have to deal with a person who does not speak Polish. We decided to also tell these people that, yes, we know how difficult your work can be. We wanted to help both sides. We decided not to list all the shortcomings, which gave rise to a discussion which is going on until today. As a result, we came up with a new situation, and we set up a foreigner service center right in the middle of an authority responsible for Poles, which means that we put something like that in the very heart of a local institution. The municipal authority had to also encounter problems encountered in turn by new arrivals to the city, not necessarily referred to as migrants or refugees. No, people who have actually come to stay and live and work and send their kids to school. And this brought us to a certain breakthrough, a watershed. When war broke out in Ukraine, we had to meander different difficulties. I'm not going to focus on it. But when war in Ukraine broke out, we actually came up with a very specific idea of what has to happen next. We have been working with migration for the past 15 years. So when the president approached us, the intersectoral platform responsible for managing the municipal authority level support, and asked us what we ought to do, I knew the answer. I told him that we need a location. And this is something that Eva mentioned, the baobab, as we call it, a place for the community, and we need a local integration policy that we are working on today. Okay, Tomek. Tomasz, here and now, are you experiencing collaboration that was born in COVID and then war in Ukraine? Is that collaboration at all visible? Because your view was a kind of panoramic view of the NGO sector. Is it a new phenomenon, or is it something quite typical when people come together when faced with a difficult situation? Yes, we are full of spontaneity. Yes, we are reactive, both of which very good things. Nonetheless, it cannot be denied that organizations, in the positive sense of the word, have established great contacts among themselves. They gained new partners. They began learning all about new circumstances. They had no other way out. I cannot confirm that those are positive conclusions that we will be able to apply in the future. I am actually more inclined to mention the reactivity I mentioned before. Nonetheless, there are other issues I would like to point out here and now. A very important trope has been mentioned. One of accessibility. One of establishing a field for collaboration. I think that quite a few pretexts for collaboration have indeed appeared. These were all situations or circumstances wherein institutions and public authorities and other facilities who had not been open before, who had not allowed, quote unquote, certain things to happen, actually were forced to do what they were reluctant to do before. And that was something of a success. That's number one. And number two, I think that a very important aspect of developing our sector involves activities on a number of levels. We are absolutely aware that the local government cannot operate without the third sector. We will never be successful without NGOs. The same thing goes for our relations with the central government. We obviously could give you an entire roadmap in order to prove that nobody can do it all by him or herself. We are going to be talking about the future very soon. We are going to be talking about civic education and the rule of law and so on and so forth. Nonetheless, to put things bluntly, if we want to introduce any kind of changes, we have to do it in parallel on a number of levels. Even if we as an organization are ready to educate others, even if we have the know-how and the human resources and the funding from a variety of sources. But if the local community we are operating in decides to throw obstacles at us, for example, should the local government decide not to support us, not only in terms of money, in terms of other ways, for example, premises or a place to run an office, if they don't do that, we are going to be lost. What I want to say is that you cannot do anything just by willing to do something and your reason or knowledge. This is why I had been quite bitter at the beginning by saying that we are capable of doing a lot, but very few are interested to make it a constant, be it capacity or anything else. It's not only about being able to run your accounts and stay in the black, but it is all about infrastructure and premises and other solutions that will allow us to bring people in and function as we ought to, at the same time feeling safe as an organization or organizations. This is how multifaceted our world is. Also, when talking about civic education, it is not sufficient to introduce a good educational program. We ought to bear in mind that it ought to affect the pupil, the teacher, and the community it is addressing. In other words, this multifaceted aspect of the entire world of NGOs. One other thing before I close. It seems to me that a major part of the third sector has actually joined the local government in the wake of the most recent local elections. I have no idea whether it is your experience as well, but I think that some people had had enough, maybe, or possibly they wanted to take on a different set of responsibilities, and maybe they simply thought that if I don't go there, nothing good is going to happen for the NGO sector. Maybe this is also why many people of the NGO sector joined the local government. I know, Tomek, that your colleague decided to join the local government, but I don't think that this is something we ought to fear. I think this is something that is rather positive, because people who have decided to join the local government with their NGO experience are going to gain a new perspective of what they are doing as part of the local government.
We had joint interests in the past. We were jointly attacked by the central government, and this cooperation that took place in many dimensions, in education, for example, where both local authorities and NGOs were resisting centralization of teaching and the introduction of ideology. I'm talking about the free school for education, the demands and ideas on how to save education signed by NGOs, trade unions, student organizations, parent organizations, local authorities, and parties of the opposition. But indeed, it is something that has been detected in different surveys, that those joint places, community centers, places where people could meet, this is something that you cannot build yourselves. NGOs cannot do that. They will not find a place like that. And without community centers, it's impossible for communities to meet, for people to meet, to build relations, and to think about what to do next. As I understand, this also applies to you, Agnieszka and Maya. I know that you have been trying to build centers like this, the Roma organizations, particularly when there was a lot of refugees coming from Ukraine. You've been trying to organize such centers. Have you been successful? Have you received such premises from the local authorities? Yes, we have some examples. In Oświęcim, we have the Roma Association run local government Roma Cultural Center. And the rest of such centers is the domain of NGOs, which are attracting resources for their operations. And it's all based on projects, unfortunately. This is not some systemic solution that would allow us to function in the society. The Roma have been in Poland for some 600 years, and we do not have this financing that would allow us to exist in this country with dignity. And that's pretty sad. What is good is that we have many NGOs. In terms of ethnic minorities, the Roma have the most civic organizations. I remember some research from a few years back, well, rather this was information from the Ministry of the Interior and Administration, that there are 120 such organizations of the Roma community. Not all of them are very active, but still, it's NGOs, and NGOs are supporting the Roma minority. And that's an appeal that I would like to make to have more support for intersectoral partnerships. If we had good intersectoral partnerships between the Roma NGOs, public institutions and business, or local authorities like you have in Lublin, I think we could have something that would be really good. And I'm not talking solely about a community center, a place where we could provide humanitarian or social support, but we could display Roma art, Roma culture, activists, deliver educational activities. We could create a multi-dimensional institution which would be open to all communities, because the Roma community is also very varied. We have the Roma community, the Roma minority, but we also have Romas from Ukraine. We have migrants from Romania, people from Bulgaria coming to Poland. So we have a lot of groups, and that would be a good venture. I wonder if it's ever going to come to fruition. Maya, what would you need to start looking into the future? What would improve the conditions for NGOs? Two main needs. I'm not talking about money, because money is always useful, but apart from money. Yes, the systemic approach with grassroots inclusion in Wrocław, it did happen. NGOs are being listened to, and this is a result of all the multi-crises that we are functioning in. What I see in Wrocław is the actual strengthening of the third sector and the relations. We have grassroots crises headquarters and scripts that can be put to use. For example, when we had the flood recently, we're unfortunately always ready to go because of the many challenges and crises, and funds have to be mentioned. Funds provide us with the springboard into action. This institutional support, working with the Romanian Roma, and we see the same needs. These are issues that are not systemically being tackled, and we have to patch them up. And I would really like it to be not a patchwork, but I would like it to be a system, a systemic approach to the problem, rather than a patchwork that would be grassroots by NGOs. We need a top-down and bottom-up approach. I can speak for our local authorities, but our local authorities are more and more working with us. They are consulting with us any sort of decisions, also in critical moments. But looking into the future, we need to design strategies to adapt to the many crises that we are finding ourselves in, not ad hoc, but structured decisions. We need experts who are adept at developing such structures and scenarios. We have a lot of insight into the problems in education, for example, but there are many gaps that become visible as a result of the crises during the pandemic or during the war. This is something that we are patching, but we see the inefficiency of the education system, the overloading of the system of education. How much time have we got left? I'm asking my colleague. Right. Let's talk about the future now. What is your take on the future? What are the biggest challenges that you see on the horizon? What are the biggest problems? Or opportunities, maybe? And how are you going to put to use all the experience of the past crises? How can it help us tackle and then we're going to talk about the wish list. Who would like to start? Ania? No? I'll try to be very optimistic. I don't know if we've learned a lot as a result of the crises, but I wanted to talk about something that is important for me, and I'd like it to work. Again, these are not very novel things, but for example, we are working, and that is important because I think Litka in the beginning talked about reaching small communities, very remote locations that are neglected. We are working with more and more local authorities who want to learn, who want to do something to support the activity of the local community, the local residents. Even if they're looking for ideas, it's a good spark. It's a good starting point to try and start building something. It's a big change that local authorities that want to go out into the community. Well, that is something that I would like to add it to the wish list, because I think that, well, we're still putting ourselves in two different poles. You cannot start changing things when we're placing ourselves in opposition to the local authorities. We are NGOs and they are local authorities. I've worked for many years in the local authorities, but also in NGOs. I know people on both sides. And I know that it's not black and white. And really, many local authorities are looking for skills, for information. We have to teach them. We have to give them examples. We have to help them. And this doesn't have to be spectacular. It's about looking, I'm speaking from a point of view of an organization that is doing this, but looking after 1, 2, or 3 people in the local authorities, and the people have been appointed to support NGOs, and they need our help because they are very often disoriented. They don't know what to do. And that is a starting point to reach out to this person or persons. This way we can bridge the gap, and in many situations these are two separate parties, the local authority on the one hand and the NGOs on the other. This is about working hand in hand. Maybe it's just because of the NGO I work in, but I'm seeing more and more people from the local authorities, the officials, and many NGOs are surprised that officials are saying that they would like to change procedures. And NGOs are saying that it's nice that the mayor came and explained some things to us because NGOs were not aware. And it's not just about personal views or political issues. Maybe there are some red tape issues, some provisions that need to be amended. We as NGOs are also trying to help in this, and I see a lot of space in Upper Silesia, where we operate, but also in other parts of Poland. We have a lot of positive feedback on this. And one other positive thing I'd like to share. We often are kind of unhappy with all sorts of dialogue bodies, all sorts of councils. We are entitled to our own opinions about them and their role, but it is possible to meet those bodies, for them to start interactions. We're very often afraid, and this is something that is a burden in our daily life. We have all sorts of stereotypes and past experiences. We are reluctant to use our good relations. And I'm not talking about being intransparent. What I mean is that it's all built by people. Adam, Agnieszka, Tomek, some other people with whom I'm cooperating with. And it doesn't matter whether the person comes from the local authorities or not. It's a person I need to build a relation with. Right, we have 3 local authorities who want to work with NGOs. Wrocław, Upper Silesia, Katowice, and Lublin. Ania, what in your opinion is key for the future? What is a challenge, an opportunity, a problem? And how can we cope with it? Let me quote the gentleman from the first fragments of the documentary we saw. It's very hard for me to be optimistic, even though I would like to be an optimist very much. Where I work with my colleagues, the future is bleak, it's very dark. Some of you probably heard and know about the fact that at the Ministry of Interior and Administration, they've recently finished working on the Polish migration policy. We're happy, on the one hand, because ever since I remember, NGOs in Poland have been demanding a strategic document that would regulate certain things. But it is a short-lived joy, because we are terrified by what's happening around this document. No one has seen this document, that's for one. Secondly, we have some bits of information that is leaked by the Prime Minister or by some other people who've seen this document. All that we know about this document for now is terrifying. And the reality that we are working in, people working for refugees and migrants in Poland, we see that the future is very dark and very bleak. And what is also very difficult for us is the fact that there is no dialogue between the government and the NGOs who've been working the system. I remember the year 2009, 2010, when we've been working to various authorities, sometimes the same parties that are in power now, and we were saying that we need this document, that we are ready to have a dialogue, to share our experience, our knowledge. And we lost 14 years, and now we're not invited to the table, because one or the other minister says that we are those funny people who are somewhere there in the forest with the refugees, people who don't know nothing about reality, people not worth talking to. I would like to warn you from against buying this story, because it may become your story, that one day even your NGOs will not be asked to the table, building a story about you, a narrative based on the same premise, where you are not empowered, agency is taken from you, experience is taken from you, you are not considered an expert, and this is being replaced with laughable epithets that basically explain why no one is talking to us. why we're not invited to the table, we're not being consulted. I'm full of anxiety related to this document, but also anxiety about the civil society and the level of dialogue of the government with the civic society and what is going to happen in the future. Strong words, but a fact is a fact. The document that we've been waiting for, a document that was supposed to come out of consultation before it is adopted by the government, has been adopted by the government without public consultation. And now we don't know what is supposed to be consulted once it's been adopted. Some secondary legislation, maybe? And this is a violation of a social contract. And not just good practices, but also legal provisions. A document should be consulted before it is adopted. So I understand a wish for us to be treated not as people who deliver on public tasks that someone else decides on, but we need to have influence on priorities and the public tasks themselves. And we need to be treated as experts, because we have expertise resulting from our practice, not just theory. Many of us are very good, very well educated. We know a lot about theory in terms of European law, Polish law related to migrants and refugees, but we also have hands-on experience of many years of working with migrants and refugees. When the war in Ukraine erupted, we all went there to help, but the know-how on support came from NGOs that coordinated these actions. Without the structure, without this support, this initial drive would not have been so successful. We would not have institutional delivery. I have a wish, a different kind of wish, a wish to all of you in the room and all those of you who represent NGOs, the publics, the civic society in Poland. Work in solidarity with your colleagues who have it difficult when you have it easier. Let's have this habit that when we know that someone is facing a difficult moment, someone who's working for LGBTQ community, let's go to this NGO, to someone who's nearby, let's knock on their door and say, well, maybe you need some help. And then when another difficult situation comes for people working with migrants and refugees, even though you're not working with migrants and refugees, maybe you can lend a hand and you can help them and support them and ask them, maybe we can help you. We need a campaign, NGOs, it works. Maya and Agnieszka, short wishes. We only have 3 minutes left.
So now 2 minutes each for each of our ladies. Well, most recently we have been shown that not everything, can be predicted. I'm not going to try and give you a reading of the future. I cannot say whether we are going to have climate or refugee-related issues. We may be encountering exacerbated societal polarization or the marginalization of ethnic groups, given what is going on in politics. Nonetheless, when it comes to wishful thinking, so to speak, I would want for the Roma community to be perceived intersectionally. Yes, obviously, we are joining a number of themes as experts, but we're also focusing on other things. To revisit local governments and public issues. Regrettably, yes, indeed, when we work with ministries, declarations are abundant. Yes, a certain percentage of these declarations are implemented. Nonetheless, as a trainer, as a person who had delivered a number of training courses in the Roma community or in the anti-discrimination community or in the area of human rights in general, I have noticed that NGOs tend to order more of these training courses than local governments. I delivered a few training courses to local governments last year. Two were very, very difficult, I must say, because it turned out that people did not understand what I was talking about. I was talking about the Romanian Roma. I'm not going to mention the town where this training course was delivered. It turned out that people were not only biased, they refused to respond to problems. They believed that this is a group of people that they ought to get rid of, to put things bluntly. I would truly choose to do something else in life, but I cannot, because there are so many issues to be resolved, so many things to be done. I would like many institutions to educate their staff, because they have to be educated in terms of interculturality or multiculturality or collaborating with marginalized groups. Maya, I would truly want to say something positive after everything we've heard, and I will try to reference an order that I consider very close to my heart, i.e. mediation and conflict resolution. I think we are still, the NGOs and the local governments and occasionally the central government are still in conflict. Nonetheless, I think that we can process that conflict, and I hope we are not going to lose hope. And my brief wish, I would really want many more programs to be so to show such a capacity for self-learning and who trust their beneficiaries to that extent. And I would truly want to work with others who want to professionalize us. And I hope that we are going to be working with organizations who are not going to be all about grabbing money and taking off, or taking the money and running, to paraphrase a movie. But I hope that we are going to be dealing with a growing number of organizations, also attaching great importance to transparency, not least in funding. Okay, so now I believe we have a quarter of an hour for people from the floor to take the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody interested in taking the floor and or sharing your comment? Okay, row 5. Good evening. I'm also a representative of the Central Roma Council in Poland, a minority organization. My heartiest congratulations on this program, because it also showcases excellent collaboration with other countries and sectoral organization, sectoral cooperation as well, and not to mention international collaboration. Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein have been supporting us. Thank you very much for that. Let me offer a brief commentary concerning migration law. That is an unquestionable challenge. Why? Not least because non-governmental organizations are not treated seriously, be it this government, be it the previous government or another. And our mission is to support dialogue. I think that what we ought to reach for is genuine cooperation according to a model put together by experts. But we have to bear in mind that we will be taking in new numbers of new refugees. Now, in terms of the Roma community, I would wish for us to be treated seriously because we have our own experts as well. We need access to something we don't have access to, the media, the stereotype media, or to put it differently, the media message is stereotypical and it gives rise to further stereotypes. I am very much aware that considerable money has been spent on supporting the Roma community, but I would like for the Roma community to be direct beneficiaries of these funds in order for us to be able to make our own decisions. It's not about where the money goes, it's about what you use it for. And very briefly, with regard to the refugee crisis, we often choose to turn a blind eye to the double standards when it comes to the overall approach to the Roma community. We have a double challenge there. We need persons who are aware of the culture in order to be able to help the affected. With regard to positives, we are definitely going to be working for, over upcoming years. I hope that the next mechanism will help us take a step forward, which is my wish for myself and for all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Any other questions or comments? If I may, Mateusz. Hi, Mateusz Wojciszak of OP and the Dialogue Field Foundation. I would like to allude to what Tomasz and Kuba were talking about. It's not only about protecting the future. What you have done is a certain force that organizations used when appealing to the previous and this government for support. It's not only about waiting for the government to become more liberal. We ought to stick to our standards regardless of who is in power. And I think this is very beautiful and worth emphasizing in terms of the of building the NGO potential, as proven by the extraordinarily expert knowledge of organizations with a focus on refugees and or migration. Yes, it is true that the 5 or 8 years have let the civic society realize how strong they are and how autonomous they are. The civic society has learned not only to apply for money, but also to stand up for themselves. I would also want to emphasize that before the parliamentary elections, we were preparing a roster of ideas, not demands, but ideas and or solutions for certain issues. And indeed, the civic society had taken the lead in terms of preparing and drafting the post-elections program. The only problem is that we ought to make sure that the post-elections program is actually implemented, and this is our challenge for today and tomorrow. We should continue building our own agency and empowerment. Even if the government is not listening to us, we can do whatever we can independently of the central government. In terms of the media, yes, indeed, we have a representative of an organization that began working with a medium when the developer tried to take the medium over. And this is exactly what the ambassador told us in terms of supporting the civic society. This is something that, combined with information integrity, shall be our target. Ukraine has already shown us that you cannot support your resilience without the civic society. I cannot imagine a government that would not be aware of it. And if they are not, we are there to remind them of it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me in this panel. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to us. And now I would like to ask Ms. Aleksandra Waczko, who on behalf of Ingrid Schulert is going to speak. Obviously, yes, I have known Ingrid for many years. I think that it is very important for us to support democratic values across the Union. Alexandra, over to you.
Nie ten mikrofon. No, ja nie wiem, czy ona nie będzie mówiła po angielsku.
No to super.
Tylko teraz nie mamy mikrofonu.
O, cudownie. No i co teraz? I co teraz?
Dobra.
Gdzie mój mikrofon? Nie wiem, czy nie sprzęgnie, spróbujemy. Lekko się sprzęga. Jeśli można, wygłoszę parę słów w imieniu pani Ingrid Schulert, która niestety nie mogła do nas dołączyć. Myślę, że należy przede wszystkim wspomnieć o tej niebywałej podróży, która za nami, podróży związanej z programem Aktywni Obywatele. Zdajemy sobie sprawę z tego, że ta inicjatywa była niezmiernie istotna dla społeczeństwa obywatelskiego, dla społeczeństw obywatelskich całej Europy.
Yeah. So across Europe, the Active Citizens Fund has actually awarded more than 3,000 grants amounting to more than 250 million euros.
Trzeba podkreślić, że w całej Europie fundusz, program Aktywni Obywatele przyznał ponad 3000 grantów za kwotę przekraczającą 250 milionów euro.
And actually, in many cases, this fund has only been the only source of support for organizations working in difficult circumstances, enabling them to continue their essential work.
W wielu wypadkach okazało się, że te środki są jedynym źródłem finansowania, umożliwiając tym organizacjom, tym grantobiorcom działalność w jakże trudnych warunkach.
And at the heart of this program is a strong network of fund operators across the beneficiary states who have tirelessly worked to reach the most vulnerable communities and amplifying the voices of civil society.
W samym sercu tego programu znajduje się bardzo silna sieć operatorów funduszy, którzy działali we wszystkich państwach beneficjentach, pracując bez ustanku, aby dotrzeć do najbardziej wrażliwych społeczności i sprawić, by głos społeczności lokalnych wybrzmiał.
And now moving on to Poland more specifically, the effort of civil society in Poland over the past years have been extraordinary.
Przechodząc teraz do realizacji programu w Polsce, nie ulega kwestii, że wysiłki czynione w Polsce w ramach programu, w ramach funduszy są niekwestionowane, są wyjątkowe.
And your initiatives have played a crucial role in protecting democracy and ensuring that every citizen's voice is heard.
Trzeba podkreślić, że dzięki waszym wysiłkom demokracja została wzmocniona. Jednocześnie upewnialiście się, że głos każdego obywatela zostanie wysłuchany.
And as already mentioned several times this evening, it's important to remember that this is not the end of your work, but a new beginning. And with the new funding on the horizon, we have an opportunity to build on the progress made and continue investing in an independent and robust civil society.
Ważne, abyśmy pamiętali o jeszcze jednej rzeczy, o której już wspominali mówcy dzisiejszego wieczoru, mianowicie, że nie jest to koniec, jest to jednocześnie początek, że jesteśmy u progu nowego programu, który umożliwi nam kontynuację już osiągniętych postępów.
And it's actually a total of 356 million euros which will be made available for civil society.
Trzeba podkreślić, że dokładnie będzie to kwota 356 milionów, która zostanie udostępniona społeczeństwu obywatelskiemu w ramach kolejnej edycji, kolejnego mechanizmu.
This new fund will, among others, place a strong emphasis on upholding democratic values, fostering civic engagement.
Ten nowy fundusz będzie przywiązywał szczególną wagę do podtrzymywania i wzmacniania wartości demokratycznych i wzmacniania zaangażowania obywatelskiego.
And furthermore, the fund will create opportunities for cooperation at the European level, enabling you as civil society organization to share best practices and expand your networks across border.
Jednocześnie fundusz stworzy nowe możliwości, nowe szanse współpracy na poziomie europejskim, umożliwiając organizacjom społeczeństwa obywatelskiego dzielenia się najlepszymi praktykami i rozwijania sieci również w układzie międzynarodowym.
And last but not least, also hopefully be flexible and adapt to your needs.
Mamy również nadzieję, że mechanizm ten będzie wystarczająco elastyczny, aby dopasować się do potrzeb wszystkich organizacji uczestniczących.
And we actually hope to launch the new fund in Poland in this upcoming spring.
Mamy nadzieję, że mechanizm ten ruszy w Polsce już wiosną najbliższego roku.
So stay tuned and keep our fingers crossed.
Także trzymamy kciuki i oczywiście prosimy śledzić naszą działalność.
Yes. And one of the actually most pressing challenges we face today is the spread of disinformation. In the area where public trust in institutions is increasingly fragile, civil society has a critical role to play in promoting truth, fostering critical thinking, and protecting the integrity of our democratic institutions.
Nie ulega kwestii, że dezinformacja stała się swoistą plagą współczesności, w związku z czym oczekujemy po nowym mechanizmie i po organizacjach uczestniczących, po społeczeństwie obywatelskim wzmacniania rzetelności informacyjnej i jednocześnie pamiętania o tym, że rzetelność informacyjna, zapobieganie dezinformacji jest jednym z filarów wartości demokratycznych.
We therefore believe that tackling disinformation must remain a priority as we work to uphold democratic values and ensure that accurate information shapes public discourse.
W związku z tym będziemy stawiać na rzetelność informacyjną, na zwalczanie dezinformacji, ponieważ uważamy, że jest to, jak wspomniałam, filar wartości demokratycznych i jednocześnie wiąże się ze stawianiem na rozwój społeczeństwa obywatelskiego.
And as we move forward, I, meaning English, encourage each of you to continue your vital work. While the war in Ukraine and its far-reaching consequences have sometimes shifted our focus, we must not lose sight of the core values that shape our society. Respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law.
I w miarę rozwoju naszej współpracy i wdrażania nowego mechanizmu, to znaczy Ingrid, będziemy pamiętać o tym, iżby w dzisiejszych czasach pełnych problemów, między innymi związanych z wojną w Ukrainie, będziemy stawiać na praworządność, prawa człowieka, uczciwość i godność.
And civil society must continue to address these fundamental issues while responding to urgent crises.
Jednocześnie społeczeństwo obywatelskie musi podtrzymywać te wartości, stając jednocześnie w obliczu kolejnych kryzysów.
And striking this balance is essential for ensuring a long-term resilience and progress.
Ta równowaga pomoże nam w utrzymaniu tak postępu, jak i budowie odporności.
And Norway will stand with you and we look forward to continue working with you.
Będziemy Państwa wspierać, będziemy kontynuować współpracę.
So in the end, we thank you for your dedication, your passion, and your tireless efforts to make Poland and Europe a better place.
Kończąc, chciałabym z serca podziękować za zaangażowanie, za pasję i za wysiłek na rzecz za radzenie sobie z problemami i za sprawianie, aby Polska i Europa były coraz lepszymi miejscami dla nas wszystkich.
So, okay, and the last but not least, together we have laid a strong foundation for the future.
Wspólnie położyliśmy silny fundament pod przyszłość.
And we know that our best days are still ahead.
Jesteśmy przekonani, że najlepsze jeszcze przed nami.
So let's continue to build a more just, inclusive and democratic society, and through it all, let us not never lose hope.
A zatem budujmy demokratyczne, inkluzywne i sprawiedliwe społeczeństwo, nie tracąc przy tym nadziei.
So, yeah, and thank you for your attention, and I know I'm standing between you and some well-deserved cocktails, so...
Bardzo dziękuję za uwagę. Wiem, że jestem jedyną rzeczą, która dzieli Was od bankietu, także na tym kończę. Dziękuję pięknie.
Not yet, because we want to thank you and we want to thank Ingrid Schuret. So on your in your hands. I teraz naprawdę.
And now, a very important moment. The moment of thank yous. We always thank the donors. We're happy to hear that it's not the end of our story, but we have to thank ourselves as well. And I'd like to invite to the floor Sylwia Sobiepan, the director of the Active Citizens Fund, who has demonstrated how you can manage this program in difficult times in a way that there's a lot of friendship, joy in the team, laughter, and space to rest. I wanted to congratulate you, Sylwia, on how you've been managing this program, and I'd like to thank you from me and the management board of the foundation. And your team will probably thank you separately. Now it's the time to say thank yous. I'd like to thank from the bottom of my heart the team of our three organizations. I'd like to invite Piotr Henzler and Zosia Komorowska in a moment. I'd like to say that it was a privilege to cooperate with the team. The team that somehow magically made things happen. You did not have to push, you did not have to appoint or convince people. Things were happening. In the team, we have very professional people who know what they're doing. And as a result, the work was progressing very efficiently. And we had some time to relax. I'd like to invite Zosia Komorowska and Piotr Henzler. They will be coming to the stage, but I'd like to invite to the stage people from my team, from Batory Foundation. For starters, three people: Karolina Walkiewicz, Asia Pietruszka, Ola Sokołowska. Apart from looking after projects, we introduced the function of a rotating person, deputy director, someone who was not there as a position, but they supported my work. So these are the three people. Inga Janikowska, the author of institutional grants. Ania Fedas, in charge of international cooperation. She was one of the initiators of the Community for Action, which we heard mentioned a number of times tonight. Two people in charge of promotion. Agnieszka Pietrza-Kirkiewicz, who's no longer with us. She recently left us, but she created our promotional campaigns. Zuzanna Suskiewicz, who replaced her very well, but she was also looking after projects. Magda Brzozowska. Without Magda Brzozowska, nothing would have happened in our program. She was tying loose ends. She was looking after schedules, documentation. As a result, we were able to undergo the audit without any trouble. And the financial people, Bazili Batko. A round of applause. The only man in the team of active citizens at Batory. Bazili was the person who was taking your coats, if you left any coats, upon arrival. Joanna Bruszewska, Zofia Luczyńska. They were looking after the financial side of projects. Aleksandra Muzyńska, she's not with us tonight, but she was the key financial director of the program. And it's good that she's not here because the financial rules in the manual, she was behind them. I wanted to thank and ask to the stage people without, or person without whom you would not receive your bank transfers. Ilona Dmowska-Wołoszyn. She's not in the room. Alina Muzińska, for many years the financial director of the Batory Foundation. I don't know if she's with us, but thank you. And we also had some people who were cooperating with us. Alicja Garlińska, Anna Razicka, for many years a director of the Batory Foundation. If you're in the room, join us. Alina Wasilewska and Justyna Frydrych. I would also like to thank Ewa Kulik-Bielińska, who sat on the program committee, the managing body, the consortium. And now over to you. From the Shipyard Foundation, for us this was the first experience. We used to be a beneficiary in the past, and we've been thinking about what's on the other side, but we have no regrets. It is an interesting experience. We had to learn many things. So we had to be very diligent, careful. We had to learn the procedures, but at the same time, I know that we've been doing things that we've been doing before, and I think it worked. It's thanks to our team. We were the old ourselves and we are learning new things. Thank you to Marysia Perchuć-Żółtowska, Marcin Górecki, Marysia Jagaciak. Join me on stage. Marek Cywiński, the rising star of Polish MC. And just like Marysia, Anya, they have new challenges, but she was working with us. And I'd like to acknowledge people who've been looking after financial sides. Financials are most difficult. They're a source of irritation. In our team, it was 4 people. Aneta Korbikiewicz, Monika Kozioł. I promised her that she would not have to attend, and that's a principle that she kept. And we had Karol working from us from Suwałki. It was a new experience that we had people from other towns working with us. That was great. Julia Kiliańczyk, who did all the transfers. 200 projects times 3 bank transfers at least. So that's how many transfers she made. She's very tough. And the ladies in charge of contracts. We had to sign contracts with all the experts, and they had to be drafted. Olga Kiełbiowska, Marta Król, thank you very much. And last but not least, 3 people. Apart from contracts, ultimately, someone has to mark it in the system, put it in the drawer. And our angel in that was Magda Orłowska. Thank you very much for that. And Hela Bremer. She also worked on the summaries of the projects. And Kuba Wygnański, who was with us in different times. She was not with us on a daily basis, but he signed all the contracts and all the bank transfers, even though he didn't always know what he was signing. But he signed it nevertheless. I represent FAO, the smallest team. We had 4 people, and 4 of us are here. I'd like to invite to the stage the person who was with us at the beginning. She is the president of our foundation, member of the board, but she was also involved in daily operation of the project. She was solving different issues, Litka Kuczmierowska, and 2 of my colleagues serving in a similar role as me, coordinators, Grzegorz Wiaderek, Andrzej Pietrucha, with whom we've been working together, cooperating, looking after and encouraging our beneficiaries. As you can see, FAO wanted to maintain a gender balance on the side of the operator. Thank you very much to Sylvia. She told me that it's going to be difficult, and I'm not expecting how difficult it's going to be, but she kept it all together. Thank you very much, Sylvia. She was our leader, our guide for all the teams that were new to this endeavor. You were our great guide, and you got us to work together in very difficult situations. And she coped with the organizational differences. Ladies and gentlemen, we're nearing the end of this official part of tonight. We'd like to thank all those of you who are with us in the room. Thank you to all those of you who are with us online. And enjoy the rest of the evening. But bear with us for a moment.